Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
Yes, indeed. Can you feel it? Welcome back. Welcome back. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, also known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, y'all?
Welcome to another episode of Q Points, a visual podcast and safe space for meaningful discussions about Black music and the artists that we love. Jay Ray, how you doing tonight?
I am amazing and particularly excited about talking about these three groups. Hip hop, when I was this young, was new and interesting, and I'm excited to have this conversation, man. How are you?
You know what? I'm not going to front. It's been a trying week.
It has.
It has been a trying week for the kid, but I am here. I'm dope as ever. And yes, I'm excited about this show as well because again, we need to let y'all know. We need to know that we've done our due diligence in letting y'all know about people like these three groups that we're about to discuss tonight. Because over the past few days, we've said goodbye to like at least 5 pop culture icons.
Yep.
You
And
know?
it's we have to celebrate every moment that we have, y'all. If you have someone that you love personally, make sure you are letting them know that you love them. This is not the time to wait for stuff like that. So if it's in your heart, make it a thing. You let people know.
Absolutely. So, before we hop into the topic, Jay Ray, did you happen to see the Kumo D's rapper report card that resurfaced because on social media?
I did not see it. I vaguely remember the rapper report card. So I probably have to go and pull it to refresh my memory, but I remember it a little bit.
It's hilarious how people were having such adverse reactions because the only people that Kumo D gave A pluses to were Lauryn Hill and Notorious B.I.G. Those are the only 2 rap artists that he gave A pluses to. And yeah, folks were just kind of up in it. Jay-Z, I believe Jay-Z may have gotten like a minus or a B plus, something where it was kind of shocking. But I just thought it was very interesting and funny because Kumo D is definitely from this era of MCs and rap artists that we're talking about tonight. And yeah, he did that back in the 90s, and here it is. People are having adverse reactions to, and probably were thinking, well, who is Kumo D? Well, you need to know who Kumo D is because he's a very important figure in hip hop as well.
Absolutely. Treacherous 3 and just his solo career, like Kumo D is not to be played. Kumo D's history is not to be messed with. So
it's not to be minimized at all.
No.
But a young poet by the name of Sean Corey Carter once said, "First the fat boys break up. Not every day I wake up. Somebody got a problem with Hove." Jay-Z, yes, you can snap for that, folks. Snap. Jay-Z was comparing the anguish he was going through, he was feeling at the moment, to the moment one of hip hop's first commercially successful rap groups disbanded. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about the Fat Boys.
Yes.
So we got Cool Rock Ski, Prince Marky D, and the human beatbox Buff Love. Straight out of Brooklyn.
Absolutely. All of these groups, actually, Brooklyn-based groups.
I was like, yo, Brooklyn was definitely taking it. Brooklyn, listen. And I'm BK. Look, I almost did the X. That's the Bronx, but I'm BK all day. I grew up in Brooklyn as well, and Brooklyn was definitely doing this thing music-wise in the early 80s. But yes, they produced several commercial albums for us before they, disbanded. Yeah. And their whole aesthetic, you and I were alluding to this earlier before we got started on the topic, but we were talking about what was it like being a fat boy at the height of the Fat Boys.
Yeah.
Because there's representation,
Absolutely. Like, so especially in the early years when we start talking about like 84, 85 for those first two records, and seeing the Fat Boys get on TV. Now, this was a marketing gimmick, y'all, so let's be really clear. One, they were called the Disco 3 at first.
Disco 3 at first, yes.
They were called the Disco 3 at first, and then their manager / label head / gave him a name.
There was a lot of slashes back then.
That was a lot of slashes, and this is not what you want. That's part of the reasons why the Fat Boys
because they start slashing into your money. Those slashes start slashing into your money. But go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at that time, you see these three brothers get on TV, and openly eat. Like, it was like eating publicly in a video, and then having a song that was a whole bop called Fat Boys. Fat Boys. Like, that joint was a groove. You know what I'm saying? So it meant something as I was husky, because back then, that's the section I had to shop in. I had to shop in the husky section. And so seeing these three brothers that were also husky doing rap was important for me. What about for you, man?
It was a double-edged sword.
Of course.
Because every time I went into the room, it's boy, that was the call. It was like the easiest thing to do if Sir Daniel came into the room. You're in elementary school. We're all immature anyway. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that somebody's going to do to use as a slight to you because you are heavy and because you are a fat boy. But at the same time, it was funny. It was exciting. There was some cringe moments, like you described them openly eating in the video. Looking back at it, it's kind of cringe now. It's like, and this was before those what do they call those videos where people like to eat the ASMR
Oh, this was before
videos?
Mukbang. Yeah, this is before Mukbang.
Right.
This is before that.
If these brothers, if all three of these brothers were still alive, they might have been capitalizing on Mukbang, except for Cool Rock Ski, who has changed his life and has completely transformed his body over the years. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it was a very interesting time for the Fat Boys to be receiving that kind of attention.
Yes.
And for their stature, it wasn't always the best, but it was a means of propelling them to the front. And let's be honest, if there were no Fat Boys, then there would be no Heavy D. If there was no Heavy D, there would be no Chubb Rock. And no Chubb Rock, then no Notorious B.I.G.
Exactly.
And so on and so on. And of course, now today, Fat Boys are the flyest things walking.
Absolutely. Right.
Everybody wants a fat boy these days, but that's a whole nother show for a whole nother channel. But let's talk about 1987.
Oh, wow.
They dropped Crushin'.
Yes, they did.
I believe was their
That was their
second.
third.
That was the third
That was their third album, and it became the
album,
one that
the
broke
platinum
through.
selling album.
Yeah.
That joint went platinum and
Mm-hmm.
catapulted them to pop status. And because of the lead single Wipeout, which was, to your point earlier, which is constructed, a heavily formulated means to have them cross over, and it worked because it featured the Beach
It
Boys of
featured the
all
Beach
people.
Boys. Yep. Yeah. That was an interesting time revisiting that record today. So, okay, I had a vision of how their career moved before I went back and actually decided to prep for this show. They obviously had success with the first two albums, right? So
Right.
we had the songs that we mentioned, including the Fat Boys Are Back and all of that stuff. Those was on those first two records. I didn't realize that it wasn't until Crushin' that they really squarely hit the pop charts. And not only did they squarely hit the pop charts, like that was a really pop song. Like it was like
Super pop. The video was like, you had blondes in bikinis in the video,
mm-hmm,
completely, for lack of a better term, it was a completely whitewashed video, a
mm-hmm,
whitewashed song. But it did what it was supposed to do. It went to number 12 on the U.S. pop charts and number
mm-hmm.
10 on the U.S. R&B charts. So people were listening and they were watching. And I think having the Beach Boys included, let's do this
Mm-hmm.
for all of you watching, and peace to Darnell Miller and Carlton. We see you. Thank you so much, guys. We love and appreciate you for joining us. Shout out to Darnell Miller, who is nominated for an award. We'll mention it in a minute, but shout out to Darnell Miller. But yes, so in '87, there was a time in the mid '80s, like right now, how in the 2000s, the 2010s, the young people are celebrating the 90s. The 90s
Yes.
culture is real popular.
Right.
Well, in that part of the 80s,
The
it was all
60s.
about 50s. It was all
Mm-hmm.
about the 50s
Mm-hmm.
because they love the 50s motif. We had a lot of, if you listen to radio back then, there were a lot of saxophone solos in
Oh,
songs.
you're right. Yes, yes, yes,
There
yes,
was a lot
yes.
of,
Mm-hmm.
swing dancing, sock hops, because we were coming off the success of Grease and
Mm-hmm.
Grease 2, the movies.
Yes.
Um, American, I can't remember the name of that Steven Spielberg movie, but it was also that along the lines of those 50s kind of sock hop era movies. So whoever their manager was, I can't remember his name, the whole Tin Pan
Mm-hmm.
label, they were very, very intent about what they did. And for not for nothing, it worked.
It
Because to this
did.
day, we still we know who the Fat Boys are, but we don't celebrate them like that.
We don't. And so the manager's last name was Stetler. An interesting factoid is he was the same manager for Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. So Dr. Dre and Ed Lover on their fourth record actually are on the intro to that record, the On and On record, which is really
See,
interesting. So I think what's interesting about the Fat Boys career is, one, I think it was so early, and they peaked from a hip hop perspective, right? By the time 87 happened, they had squarely moved into like a pop direction,
yes.
which they were unhappy about, as it was unfolding. But so let's put this in perspective. Their manager owned their name. He was
Mm.
their manager. He was their label head. He
Ching
had
ching.
ching ching. So he had full control over everything that moved. I see.
Yeah.
He had full control. We're going to get to keys in a minute. He had full control over everything that moved. So by the time we got to the 90s, they had broken up. They did, I think, an album in like 91. But of course, Prince Marky D goes on to become a super producer.
Woo. If we just gonna talk about "Real Love" by Mary J. Blige, my guy was eating off of that until the day he died,
Mm-hmm.
literally off of
Yep.
that one record. So you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing how those early hip hop deals are legendary in the worst possible way.
Right.
Like, as I said in the beginning, manager slash label head slash, that means all the checks are going to this one person, and I can only imagine what they were taking home. And as you said, so by 87, they had moved away from the hip hop formula, right? So, but in 88, guess what they did? They followed up with another very poppy record, and this time it was the Twist.
The Twist
featuring Chubby Checker.
Man.
Which Chubby Checker is another figure in black music that is kind of glossed and glazed over, because not for nothing, the Twist is a stupid, ginormous international hit record.
Yes. Yeah. And Chubby Checker had his resurgence in the 1980s. And this song was an important part of that legacy too, right? So having them do this, and it became a huge record. And I think it was 88 when, they had their other really important moment. Okay, before we talk about their other really important moment in 88, which was not music, it was outside of music. I think it's important to recognize that at that point, of all the groups that we're talking about, when we talk about commercial success, the Fat Boys had kind of done it all at that point. They were the commercial juggernaut of hip hop. They ushered in so much stuff from a pop standpoint at that point. So we can't forget that. We
cannot forget that they ushered in deals outside of record deals. We're talking about endorsements. They, not for nothing, they were like the first. I know we like to talk about Run DMC a lot, but the Fat Boys, if we really want to talk about commercial success, really did it big. And I don't want to forget Louie.
I forgot about
it was like that. Who management was like, okay, this is working for us, we're going to stick with this. And Louie was another one of those like 50s 60s sock hop era kind of records performed by Richard Berry, who, and that song alone, just a factoid, if I could be J Ray for a second, that song alone has been covered by hundreds of times by people from Otis Redding, Toots and the Maytals, and Iggy Pop.
Wow.
So that record alone has been covered numerous times. And that was on the and so we're kind of heading into the direction, because that song, that album, Coming Back Hard Again, also featured a few rap songs to honor a horror movie icon, which kind of leads into what we're talking about. Do you remember Are You Ready for Freddy?
Lordy B, they did a whole thing. Wow.
And Freddie was rapping on the record.
That is Robert Englund, nuts.
Robert Englund, who is like famous for being Freddy Krueger, for like how many movies? There's like what? Maybe 10, 12 Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Yeah, he was in at least 7 or 8 of them. Right. No, he was in all of them actually up until the very current one. So however many that is.
So Nightmare on Elm Street is a huge franchise. And so this is like the 4th installment in that franchise. And their song, Are You Ready for Freddy, was featured on that soundtrack, which, to your point, J. Ray, leads them into their cinematic forwards.
Yeah, man. Disorderlies. Okay, so we're going to go to Keys now. So Keys said in the chat, my friend would always call me a disorderly whenever we would argue. Keys, we love you.
Absolutely.
So, the Fat Boys, I remember going to see this. My father, or I think my father took me to see it, me and my brother, when we were kids, but we could go and see Disorderlies. Like, so in the 1980s, of course, you had your PG rated comedies that would come out, there were so many of Police Academy and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, Disorderlies was in that canon. It was fun. And funny, I did not go back and watch that in preparation for this. I probably would have feelings about it today that aren't good.
Yeah.
But for hip hop, and in particular for a rap group, like for them to be the leads in this film was kind of a big deal. Because if we think about like Crush Groove, that was actors. That was like Blair Underwood. You know what I'm saying? Like actors playing these roles. But this was like a rap group in a major motion picture.
So, to your point, 1987, Disorderlies was actually crafted for them as a vehicle for them because Hollywood got a hold of the Fat Boys and was like, oh, these are the new Three Stooges.
Yep.
So the Disorderlies movie was supposed to be that vehicle for them to become the new Three Stooges, which is like we were talking again about how kind of exploitive it is. The Fat Boys, their commercial success became successful but exploitive at the same time.
Absolutely.
And it was a lot of, like you said, it was a lot of slapstick. It was a lot of, the critics hated it because a lot of the jokes didn't land. They did their thing, considering they weren't actors, they were rappers, and they managed to have some really dope scenes, including the roller rink scene.
Oh, right. Yes.
But I kind of want to. So, were you aware that there was the first movie that the Fat Boys was in was called Knights of the City that came out in '86?
I did not know about that. I'm going to have to look up Knights of the City.
But it was filmed in '84.
Okay.
But was never released until '86, which I don't know who foresaw that, but that was like perfect timing because by '86 the Fat Boys were rolling. Their star was on the rise. So not a good movie either. They did like another cameo where they performed and they pretty much stole the show because of their performance. And if you're talking about Crush Groove, we got to say, if you think about it, the performances, the Fat Boys they had the most interesting video for All You Can Eat.
Yep.
Where they were making love to a pizza buffet. So
exactly.
Again, it's just exploitative and very cringy, especially now where we're very protective about how we talk about people who are differently bodied and that kind of stuff could not exist today. Could not work today at all.
Right. Especially given that, at some point they themselves were like, we don't want to do this anymore. So well, I'm so glad that we wanted to talk about this group, y'all, because like we said at the beginning, we so often don't revisit their career. Like we don't, and they were critical to what we do today in hip hop. The way the kids is doing deals today is what the Fat Boys was doing in 1987, 88 years. And yeah, man.
And because of their missteps and them being taken advantage of, the megastars of today don't have to go through that or don't go through it as badly as they did. Yep. So they really took a hit for everybody that's eating right now. And it's kind of sad that nobody really brings them up in conversations. It's like, yeah. So we can kind of move on from that, from the Fat Boys, but they really were like, I wanted to start off with them because they were super, super pivotal in this hip hop in this hip hop dynasty that was created. Speaking of dynasty, I didn't really try to do that, but we're talking about Crush Groove and how that was a major movie. Anybody that was hip hop in that moment was in that movie or featured.
Yes,
including the next group from Brooklyn that we're going to talk about. Jaleel, the rapper Jaleel,
Ecstasy.
DJ, yes, the late John Ecstasy Fletcher and DJ Grandmaster D. We talking about none other than Whodini.
Man, oh man.
So we're going from the Fat Boys to inarguably one of the groups that had like a breakout sex symbol. For all intents and
Absolutely.
purposes, Ecstasy was always rocking the shirt open
Yep.
and some leather shorts.
Absolutely.
And he had like a signature look with the Zorro
Zorro
hat.
hat.
So
Yep. Listen, man, they were so actually I'm glad that we're doing this because we actually are moving kind of backwards in kind of how these groups kind of emerged. So when we think of Whodini, first of all, Whodini has so many joints, y'all. Like they have so many joints. I went and I played just played the records back and forth, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. And they were kind of like rock stars at that time. I didn't even see Whodini on stage. Of course, I was a kid, right? I would only see the pictures, right? I saw the Freaks Come Out at Night video, which was, the concert stage and how the women were there and falling out. They became like the rock stars of the game, even though they were on tour with the Beasties and Run DMC. By all accounts, Whodini was the show at that moment that they were doing like the Fresh Fest and all of that. So huge group.
So absolutely. So you brought up Fresh Fest. Fresh Fest to this day, when we talk about hip hop tours, nothing still has come close to the Fresh Fest as far as star power. And some people can argue about it, but Fresh Fest was like the first national and international hip hop tour. Not only did they go across America, y'all, they went to the UK and they went to Europe. That was the very first time that had ever happened. Imagine seeing on stage Run DMC, LL Cool J, the Fat Boys, Davey DMX, and then on top of that, they're kind of responsible for, if you have a Fresh Fest package like that, when you go to different cities, different towns, that's an opportunity for the local talents to get on and to get put on, which is Whodini is responsible for our next group that we're going to talk about in a second. But they also gave a platform to another super producer who started out as one of their break dancers. I'm talking about Jermaine Dupri, of course,
who got a hit on the radio today with Ari Lennox. So
exactly. So it's like because of the Fresh Fest, going to Atlanta, meeting Michael Malden and knowing Michael Malden, and this is his son, so we're gonna put him on stage at age 11 or 14, however old he was. And that was major of Whodini. But let's talk about the music. 6 studio albums, all, to your point, smash hits on all of them. The album Escape alone has Friends, Big Mouth, 5 Minutes of Funk, which that song alone lives on by itself because of Video Music Box, which is a whole nother iconic piece of hip hop history.
Yeah.
And like that music still lives in our heads because of Video Music Box.
Absolutely. And just thinking of like when we think about their first record, and as a person, I learned this later because I'm not from New York, right? So Mr. Magic was something I had to learn about. And the fact that their first record was really built off the fact that they did a spot for Mr. Magic's radio show that got played for years, that got them a record deal. And these dudes, so what made Whodini interesting was they went over to London and did their first record. Like they did their first record outside of the US. Like they did that overseas. And then it came back here, right? All of that was really built on that Mr. Magic spot. Like the Jive Records was like, we want those guys, let's give them a deal. And then it's by the time Escape happens, Larry Smith is in the mix. Like, I'm about to lace y'all. So you have Larry Smith and the Cats from London.
Wait, hold up, J-Ray. Do y'all know who Larry Smith is? Larry Smith single-handedly gave the godfathers of hip-hop their classic records and mega radio hits. Larry Smith
Absolutely.
gave music to Run DMC. He worked with Curtis Blow,
Yep.
who is responsible for the Fat Boys,
Right.
who also was a part of the Crush Groove.
Yep.
Curtis Blow, we might need to talk about Curtis
We got to
Blow.
talk about Curtis Blow now that I think about it.
Yes, that whole Run Entertainment thing was a major part of that, of them all being together. Yes, Russell Simmons and that whole crew is kind of what brought them all together. But Larry Smith was an accomplished bass player, and for all intents and purposes, Larry Smith is like the precursor to Teddy Riley. Before there was Teddy Riley, like if you listen to Friends, if you listen to 5 Minutes of Funk, that's New Jack Swing before it was New Jack Swing.
New Jack Swing. I like that. You're right.
So, and we were talking about Sir Juice, Mr. Magic. Whodini were like, because of Larry Smith and his lush production, Whodini was like one of the first rap groups to get like heavy rotation. Outside of the radio, outside of the hip hop format, Whodini was put into regular rotation because their music was so like lush R&B friendly.
Yeah, man. Like you have tracks like One Love, which I played today, and I'm like, oh, I forgot how much I like this song. These are really good tunes. So Jaleel and Larry Smith together, somebody equated it. I think it was like on the Unsung that they did many years ago, but they were kind of like Lennon and McCartney, McCartney, but the rap version, because you listen to what they were creating for hip hop at that time. That was your precursor to LL. You know what I'm saying? What they were doing with like One Love was like, okay, LL has permission now to, one, take off his shirt, and two, do I Need Love. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It all played together.
And you bring up One Love, heavily sampled record.
Oh my God, yes.
because it influenced Nas, who is of course a major artist of the last century, a hip hop artist of the last century. But the songs One Love and Friends were sampled for one of his biggest hits.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. So
that's impact. If you're a hip hop godfather making a hip hop song, and then somebody from the next generation samples your music, that's major. That's huge. So big up to Whodini, for doing the damn thing. Whodini being on the Fresh Fest tour again, like I said, they introduced us to not only Jermaine Dupri, but they introduced and gave a platform to the final group that we're talking about, UTFO.
Yes,
because Kango Kid and
was it Dr. Ice? I think it was Dr. Ice. Yeah.
Were their dancers, break dancers.
Yeah, man.
You can see them popping and locking in the Freaks Come Out at Night video. And that led them to being the very first pop lockers B-boys to be featured on the Donahue Show.
I did not know about the Donahue thing. That's super dope. UTFO. So of all the surprises that I said I was going to mention to you, my surprise of the day, I went back and I played that first UTFO record. Shout out to Full Force, because record, and we've asked this question before. We've talked about Full Force before. We are just going to send love. We'll have to put the link in the chat to the last time we talked about Full Force, because Bow-Legged Lou ended up in the chat, which was hilarious. That first UTFO record, Leader of the Pack, came on today. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, you could drop this right now and it's gonna go.
Yeah. The boom, like, if we're going to talk about, we're going to have to talk about Roxanne, of course.
Yes.
But the foundation of that is Billy Squier's Big Beat. So a lot of the records then had that bombastic kind of, heavy bass and snare kind of groove to it. So yes, everything you're talking about, leader of the pack, that stuff goes now because it's built on the foundation of those records. And Full Force, wow. If I could just sit with Bowlegged, I don't think you can do 1 hour is not enough time to sit down with Full Force or Bowlegged Lou, anybody from the group, to talk about all the musicians that they've touched. But right now we're going to talk about the Untouchable Force organization, better known to y'all as UTFO. You know, God bless, you know, the recently departed Kango Kid, educated rapper, left us a few years ago as well. Dr. Ice and Mixmaster Ice are still holding it down. You know, these are kids from Brooklyn as well. And like their distinction, it sounded like a gimmick at the time, but the distinction of Roxanne.
Yeah.
And we've talked about flash in the pan songs and
right.
we've had that conversation and how we could turn that into a show also. But and people want to make Roxanne a gimmick record, but it goes far beyond that because we're still talking about it to this day.
Yeah. It created an entire, I mean, Sir Daniel, of all the people that could talk about the impact of Roxanne, it's definitely DJ Sir Daniel. And you know, the trail of history that one song left, it's pivotal, it's foundational to the success of hip hop. So as we're talking about all of these groups, we're talking about Whodini, we're talking about the Fat Boys and kind of what they were able to do commercially. There were careers that were built on the Roxanne record because of the Roxanne Wars.
Absolutely. You know, we can't, you know, Roxanne Shante is an icon to this day because of that record. And she barely even heard it a couple times. She was like, "Oh, that record? Oh yeah, I can answer that." You know, just throwing a beat. I gotta pick
Hold
up.
On. We're her little microphone.
Right. I gotta pick up my mom's laundry. I can't be late for that. So let me just spit these bars real quick. And then, you know, go pick up my mom's laundry. But yes, that one record spawned 500 responses, which meant that there were 500 or so record labels that put money into it and got money back because everybody was buying the Roxanne records, all of them. Then, if we're talking about touring, like the Fresh Fest, at the height of the Roxanne eras, you would have Shante would be on some of those dates. And every city that she would go, she would have to battle the Roxanne in that
city.
So UTFO is responsible for that alone. If you're talking about that record is in the Guinness Book of World Records as having the most response records. And let's take it to another level. Let's take it to a discourse, a conversational piece about, a think piece as the kids would call it today. Roxanne was like a snapshot of male-female discourse in the community and how women, we're talking about the 80s, the early 80s, where women's rights were a thing, female empowerment, women were starting to make more money. And so, and a lot of black men at the time were feeling powerless because this was pre-crack around the same time. And, you know, they're trying to make money by selling crack because a lot of them, their fathers and them came home from the war and everybody got strung out on heroin. So everybody became a welfare family. And then the projects were booming and there's a lot of decay in New York, but then there's a very rich people in New York. So you have men who are flexing on women passing by catcalling, and the catcalling turns into making records about them. And and at times being disrespectful because the woman would not give them the time of day. And so then you have this 14-year-old girl coming to make a response. So we're really talking about a war battle of the sexes at that time. In the conversation, they can do a whole think piece on what Roxanne means as far as how men view women and how they talk to them. it goes on and on from this one record. And I
Literally,
know I'm
like,
talking it ad nauseum. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. I was thinking about, it's funny because when I think of Roxanne, I always go back to Kango Kid's verse, like, which is so funny. You know, I can't go from UTFO. She says so. I said
I
so.
said,
Like,
oh,
you literally are talking about that power dynamic that was happening at the time. Because it's like, he's like, I'm trying to tell you that I'm all this. It's just like, I'm not impressed. So, and he's trying to, now he has to convince this woman, don't you understand? It's in the song, Roxanne, can't you just understand? Like, it is, you are absolutely right, Sir Daniel. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we have to talk about the importance of UTFO. One, that song alone, but even just going back to this album and listening to the production of Full Force that was provided, listening to the way these that Mixmaster Ice was scratching, and the way that those brothers were delivering, it was crazy. The way those brothers were delivering this stuff at that time, this UTFO was important, and we have to celebrate them too in all of
most
this.
definitely. Was that the first time you heard Pig Latin on a record?
Oh, no, it wasn't the first time, because it's funny. I thought about that. Frankie Smith, you know, so it was funny. I was listening to this record and I was like, yeah, I was like, oh, this is 83. You know, Double Dutch Bus came out in 81. So we got to talk about Frankie Smith at some point. There is a very long Frankie Smith history where even you have his style falling into the UTFO, you know, record a couple of years later. So yeah, man.
Wow. Like you said, they not only did they create a legacy for themselves, but they created a legacy for women MCs.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Because a lot of the women in rap now, you ask them, they're, oh, you know, Roxanne's Revenge was the record that made me want to, you know, pick up a mic, because this 13-year-old is stepping up to these dudes and putting them in their place. So yeah, I really wish all of them were here. You know, Kango Kid, Educated Rapper, Buffy, Prince Marky D, Jaleel. I really wish all of them were still here to receive the accolades, to be a part of those national conversations like that what Q Points is having right now.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
regarding their impact, so they can know that they're respected and they're appreciated.
Yes.
Because again, this $1 billion industry was built on their backs.
Yep. I was catching up. One of the things I did in preparation for this is I was like, oh, let me just go back and watch the old Unsungs too. So it was the Whodini. There was a Whodini one and there's a Fat Boys one, right? So one of the things that Ecstasy said was black artists, particularly black hip hop artists, this is the only genre where we don't respect the work that came before. And we have to drill that in people's minds. And if you listen to or watch Q Points, we got to give room for these folks that we're talking about to be able to do what they do on stage. Listen, it's important, man. Like, the Rolling Stones could sell out today if they went on tour.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a question. It wouldn't be, they would have generations of listeners packing stadiums to see it. We got to do that with our artists. And Daryl talked about it on Music is the Key. Shout out to Music is the Key. And Daryl, we talked about it here on Q Points. He talks about it on his show. Y'all, we can't throw our folks away like that. They've done too much work.
They did too much work. Like, I talked about it briefly, but do you know how important radio rotation was back then? Rap music was relegated to being played only at nighttime, to
Yep.
being played mostly on AM stations, to being played
Mm-hmm.
only on college radio stations, but for a WBLS,
Mm-hmm.
um, any major radio station that you can think of, to put a Whodini record in rotation,
Yep.
in regular rotation, is saying something. Like, a lot of stuff couldn't get on the radio without payola
Yep.
back then,
Yeah,
but
man.
if the record is dope enough, people will listen to it and we'll talk about it. I'm really glad we had this conversation tonight.
I'm so glad we did too. And please, y'all, one, go back and revisit these records. Go back and revisit these groups. If you need to pull the greatest hits, just go do it. They're all streaming.
It's awesome.
I promise you will have a good time. Like, you pull that first UTFO record and put on Leader of the Pack and inbox. If you didn't rock to it, inbox me. I want to know that it didn't, that you didn't get your life to it. Cause today, cause I was sitting here typing and I was like, oh, UTFO, yes. And then I played that. I was like, oh, I forgot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do that. Inbox J Ray,
Yep.
but also inbox us and become a Q Points insider.
Absolutely.
You definitely don't want to miss the stuff that's coming up, because I know you've seen all our posts earlier this week about our Janet Jackson viewing party. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss. Oh, I don't want to say anything, but last night I made a connection, and just keep your fingers crossed, everybody, because this is kind of major for me. And I hope that you all will appreciate it, but it's major for me. So I'm not going to say anything right now until it's on the books and we got it in there. But your boys, we've been working out some stuff over here for sure for the Q Points family. And I really appreciate you all tuning in every week. I got voice notes from people about how impactful the show is, and it's really inspiring to know that you get us, you get what we're doing here, and so we're just going to continue doing that thing for you, and hopefully you'll continue to enjoy it. But yes, go back and watch Crush Groove.
Yes.
And check out The Disorderlies, just to say you saw it.
Sure. You want to put it in your list of things. One other thing, y'all, and I know that we do this at the top of the show, but some of y'all might miss the top of the show. Please, 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 go on over to Podchaser. We're over on Podchaser. You can find Q Points. The link is in the chat. And it's in the description if you're listening to this. Reviewing us and leaving us a rating on Podchaser really is an important thing for us. It helps with the visibility of the show. So if you are here and you dig what we do, yes, definitely head on over to Apple, leave us a star rating, leave us a review. You can now review us on Spotify. Oh, can I make a note? We are now a video podcast on Spotify, which is a new service that they offer. So if you listen to Q Points on Spotify, you now see our faces because it's a video podcast. And but definitely head on over to Podchaser. Leave us a star rating and a review over there. It truly is a way for podcasts to get some additional visibility. So yeah, the link's in the chat.
So do everything that J Ray just said. And also remember, what do I always say? In this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
I'm J Ray, y'all. Peace.
Thank you so much. This has been Q Points. We'll see you next week.